Hi guys and girls, it is time for Wrestle Up. I am Andy N. And my colleague today is the Dr. Paul McNamara. How are you today, Paul?
Very good, Andy. How are you keeping?
Yeah, good. Enjoyed AEW Revolution anyway, certainly on Monday after that show anyway. So, but did it feel weird to you, Paul, before we start on that today? Actually having to watch it on basically a day later than what they normally screens. They've been doing all of them on Saturday, really, haven't they, so far?
Yeah, Saturday kind of works well, I think, for us Europeans because we can just watch it on Sunday morning.
Oh God, yeah. I know we've had cases where you've stopped up all night Saturday night watching it, haven't you? So
a couple of times. So yeah, Monday then makes you kind of just have to wait for Monday if if there's people working or if there's stuff to do. Makes it a bit. Saturday is just a nice day to have it.
Yeah, much better for me, to be honest, as well, because certainly in my case today, when we did it, I took this week off and leave from work. So because the way lockdown's going in England at the moment, I've got tons of leave left from work. So I thought, right, take the Monday off. I can spend all the Monday watching it. And yeah, it was a long show, really, wasn't it, again? So thankfully, not like AEW, to the correction, not WWE territory, like WrestleMania, they probably 8 hours this year, 9 hours, but still it was 3 hours, 40 minutes, which is a fair whack. Now, obviously, we will be doing a review in the show today. Now, it does have to be said that unfortunately, neither me or the doctor have watched the actual buy-in, so we can't talk about that at all, can we, unfortunately? So,
no, we will say, Umar unfortunately can't be with us today. And I don't think Umar had seen the pre-show match either, so it wouldn't made any difference.
Oh, yeah, he's been a big help here, hasn't he? Straight away, yeah. I can see, Umar's been very helpful today, all the great Drezeya, because basically he's given us all his ratings anyway, hasn't he? So we'll mention them as we go along. So thank you, Drezeya. So
for the buy-in, it was I'm going to butcher this pronunciation.
I've forgotten who it was actually.
Maki Ito.
Oh yeah.
Who did make a brief appearance on the main show as well at the end of the women's title match and the women's world champion title match. But so there was a bit of a surprise there as well. And I'd heard going into it that the reason it was a surprise was she was wrestling in Japan a few days beforehand, and they were very unsure if she'd actually make it in time.
Ah, that explains why then. So, did you watch much of the women's tournament, Paul? Did you before we start?
I haven't, because I had a busy few weeks and I haven't got to watch much Dynamite even, no matter anything else. But I was kind of following it, and it was interesting to see who was making it up the ranks and who was kind of getting through the tournament. And I think, we'll talk about this when we get to the actual women's title match. But I think there's this issue still with AEW where they have really great women's wrestlers, and even they'll highlight on the show the rivalry there, but they don't actually really build the rivalry beforehand.
Yeah, that seems to be a big mistake they've got as an organisation there. And definitely that one is ill-advised, to put it nice. They should be treated more fairly. And I agree with you completely. So let's hope they sort it out, but we'll avoid that topic. Anyway, we'll move on to the fights then. So the first one we had was the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson versus Chris Jericho and MJF with Wardlow for the AEW Tag Team Tag Match. It went on for 18 minutes, this fight, actually. What did you think of this one, Paul, first?
I think this is possibly one of the kind of represents what I thought of a good bit of this show, which is I think I have very high expectations for AEW pay-per-views, and sometimes they're kind of never bad, but sometimes they don't hit those expectations for me, which is probably more my fault than AEW's fault.
No, it's fair enough. Fair play.
It was a fairly solid match. It was a fun match. Jericho's always fun. He, he's so much better than he has any right to be at his age.
Well, he's 50, isn't he? So he's 51 this year.
50 around that.
He's doing great.
The Young Bucks are one of the best tag teams in the world. And I thought it was it was a fun, solid match. It wasn't, the Young Bucks versus FTR or the Young Bucks versus Omega and Page, but it was a really good, solid opening to the show at the same time.
Yeah, no, I felt so as well. I felt they mixed it really well because obviously with obviously the typical book style, which is what chaotic and high spot filled. And it was more psychological, one and grounded storytelling between Jericho and MGF. It was really well mapped out, this fight was, I felt, to be honest with you. I'm not going to say it was a great fight, because I think there's better fights come up in the pay-per-view. But I think it was a good one to start a pay-per-view off, truth be told to you.
Yeah, just a good, solid, fun starter. It's nice to see the Young Bucks kind of warming up whatever size crowd is there.
Yeah, they're very good at that, because they do seem, it's a few times now, haven't they? The Bucks come out first. It's almost like they know what they're doing there to warm and get the crowd going, and it works well, actually. Now, a couple of quick bits in this one for you, Paul. Did you half expect Sammy Guevara to turn up in this fight? I was half expecting him, actually.
Yeah, it was interesting how they kind of played that, and I suppose how they're playing this whole inner circle thing, that he's just not there, just that absence.
Yeah, they must have somewhat in mind for him. Because obviously, they said after this fight, we're not going to give the result away yet, but they said they were doing a war council, so weren't they? This Wednesday, obviously in Dynamite, and I reckon he'll turn up then. But there was no Jake Hagan, was he, either?
I do love that from Chris Jericho. Just like, we're having a war council on Wednesday, and that's that perfect line of really stupid but also great.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, completely with that. No, it'd be great knowing Jericho with that. But where was Jake Hager then? Because he's not injured. Because I've been on his Twitter. I had a look at his Twitter before.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
There's a big tease on Twitter. There was where he's teasing Paul White. So there's a hint between those two coming. It makes you wonder, because they have fought before in WWE. It was a few years back. When Paul White eventually fights in AEW, and it's obviously going to happen, will between those two?
And no Big Show and Czech coming yet, or Paul and Czech has to have their long-awaited match.
Oh God, yeah. When did they first tease that in WWE? It was about 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, a long time ago. Like, it was teased for a few different WrestleManias. It was rumored, kept being rumored.
Yeah, but did they fight in all these big elimination matches, didn't they? Battle Royal ones in WrestleMania, didn't they?
Oh, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think they did much together each other anyhow. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next fight. What are you going to give this out of 5, Paul?
I'm a bit of a kind of 3.5, 4 area for me, I think.
I'm the same as our absent friend today, 4. So I give us 4 out of 5, mate. So I've had a good fight. It's a good start. It's a good starter, basically. And I think, what do you reckon? Was 18 minutes as it's recorded at around about the right length for that, do you reckon?
I think so, yeah. Like, maybe they could have cut a couple of minutes, but it was fairly, I think it was fairly good.
Yeah. It was good stuff. Good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good start. Right. Okay. Casino Tag Team Battle Royal was number 2. I'm not going to name all the people in this because there's 4 different teams. Yeah. And plus you had one of the guys from Jack Evans appeared at one point as well, didn't he?
Yes, you need.
Now I've made a load of notes on this, so do you want me to go for my notes first in this case, Paul, and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about in addition on top of it? So I've got about 8 points in this one, or 7 points in it. Things I liked, so just to see what they say. Okay, what do you reckon is the story and development of QT Marshall getting rid of the guns, or also part of the Nightmare Factory, and then blowing up Gold Dust?
AEW, I think, do this really well. When you have these big multi-man matches, they're always, advancing storylines and making storylines, and especially with the lower card, there's always wrestlers having stuff going on.
Yeah, there's plenty of this one, definitely. So I thought that was a really nice little subplot there. It's somewhat obviously that they're going to build on probably in Darks. I don't think they'll do it in Dynamite, but
I think because the Nightmare family have kind of growing as a faction. They're kind of getting bigger. So, having someone break out probably isn't the worst things they could, they won't lose anything by losing out on someone.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Spotlight on Marshall would be nice.
There's big talk going around, isn't it, that Cody's going to be joining the New Horseman faction that's going to build up. So then basically, obviously, put more emphasis on Goldust running the Nightmare Factory faction then, wouldn't it, you'd expect? So, but, I thought it was a good look a bit of that. I liked a bit when Stu Grayson overpowered both the Bear Country as well, briefly as well. You had them both
had a nice
of them.
match.
Yeah, he's a good worker. He really is a good worker. I think he's very underrated as well. But no, I always like watching him. I do. Same with Alan Angels, number 5. But they're both smaller guys, but they've got great physiques and they work really well together. I didn't realize that Griff Garrison was nearly as tall as Luchasaurus, mind you.
Yeah, big guy.
Yeah, you think he's he's a smaller guy, but they were stood next to each other at one point. I thought, bloody hell, he's only about an inch too smaller than Luchasaurus. That's why. So, did you like the tease between Bear Country and the Butcher and the Blade as well?
Yeah, and Bear Country had a good run. They had a nice few minutes in the middle of that match where they just, they were quite dominant at times, quite impressive at times, and I found it really impressive.
Yeah, same for me as well. I told my dad about this. My dad's been watching them and watching Dynamite. My dad's 85, and he keeps calling about. Do you remember the natural disasters in WWE?
Oh yeah, earthquake, wasn't it? And
earthquake and sorry, I can't remember what it was now. It was a long time ago. I was only a kid at that time, but he keeps comparing them to them. They're not as big as those two, and I think they're much more athletic. But they're quite a different team, aren't they? Because of the size of both of them. Bear Boulder and whatever.
Look up who else was in the natural disasters. We can't let this go.
Oh yeah.
Earthquake and typhoon.
That was it. I should have remembered that was Elf then.
Actually, the image that comes up, I can definitely kind of see where your dad's coming from.
You do. You look at it. It's like there's a look about them, isn't there? But if you watch them, I do remember watching. They're a very, very hard team to obviously fight against because of the size. And they had something very different because they're two very big athletic men. And because AEW, obviously, there's 14 different teams there tonight. And obviously, one of Top Flight's out injured. One of the Acclaim's out injured on top of it. So it shows you how top heavy the AEW tag team division is.
There's so many great tag teams. They're almost too many great tag teams.
It is really, you think and that's why they can work through tag team after tag team all the time, because there's so many of them. And
there's 6 or 7 teams in that division who could, be the face of any tag team division for any company, and no one.
Yeah, definitely that. You look at the fact that the booking AEW have done over time, and this is a great example for this fight, is because they've got so many good tag teams. They don't necessarily got the women's division right. That's the story of the day. But the tag team, they seem to have nailed it down to a T. They've got so many bloody good tag teams there, haven't they?
Oh yeah, no, their division, it's the most deep division, probably. It's definitely the most deep division in any main, any of the big companies.
Yeah, and it's obviously like we always say with WWE don't like tag teams. So if you're in a tag team, you come to AEW, don't you? If you're a good tag team, you'll get a good run there, basically. So,
but even New Japan's tag team division isn't doing great at the moment.
I've heard. Yeah, I heard it. Yeah, about that. Yeah,
it's like AEW are far ahead of most, I think, any other company at the moment in terms of tag team wrestling.
I agree. And what they've done is, I like about AEW as an organization is they're moving on all the time out. They're bringing new people through. You had Top Flight and the Acclaimed come through at the same time, pretty well, didn't you? And that's freshened things up a bit more. And then they had turned Private Party heel, who obviously were in that as well. So you're right, it's probably 20 odd tag teams. And there's
it'll be interesting to see a certain Impact wrestler who came over later in the show who was part of a tag team, whether his tag team partner might join him at some stage.
Yeah, his contract's up fairly soon as well, that other gentleman is as well. So I know they're a certain player. I'm not going to name him just yet, but he's a good wrestler. I thought he was very good in that tag team. They were a good team. So yeah, definitely. Now, what do you reckon they think about Jack Evans getting involved in from pulling number 10 out of the match?
Yeah, again, I think just that little thing of constantly tipping away at storylines in AEW, and obviously partially because of the unfortunateness, the terrible thing with Brody Lee passing away, but I think the Dark Order are just they're just beloved a little bit, I think, at the moment. I think you can't help but love them, and even all the humor that they have on being the elite in different parts of Dynamite. It's just just the Dark Order in general are a really good team.
Yeah, I do.
and messing with them is kind of really good. Like,
I do as well. And this is what Tony Khan was going on before, and he went on, they did the post-media scrum afterwards, when they went on about a new signing, you will talk about in a minute. Basically, they said, well, they had to turn 7 people into faces overnight. And in some ways, it's left them a bit short now, probably of heels. You had effectively like a math, it's the biggest fraction, probably the biggest fraction, wasn't it?
yeah.
That's why, and I think it's worked really. I think they look a good unit together, Trooper told you. I love watching them coming out. I generally do. So
They're great. And like, you have your John Silver in there, who's just the best.
oh, he's a lunatic. I love him. I think he's fantastic.
I love John Silver.
Him and Alex Reynolds are up to such a good tag team.
Mm-hmm.
I could see those two sooner or later winning the belt in AEW. They must have a chance sooner or later because people love them that much, don't they? So, but anyway, right. A couple of things we move on this now. We'll be here for a while, this, aren't we? So, I liked WWE do this sometimes, not always, is the countdown clock at the back. And as soon as one team was out, it went down 90, didn't it? Was 90 seconds too long, do you reckon? Or should have done it at 60?
I'll be honest, I saw some people kind of a bit iffy about some of the rules of this match, but I thought it worked really well. Like, I was quite invested.
Yeah,
I know not everybody was, but I really was. I thought it was like Royal Rumble, rules pretty much.
Yeah, same for me. What I think was good was because we had to force 14 teams. The fight was only 27 minutes.
Yeah.
They could have easily dragged that out for an hour. I wouldn't have wanted them to, but thank God they didn't.
No, they shouldn't. No, it was a good length.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I like the fact too, they left at the end of it, the last 2 people.
The ending.
Yeah.
5 or 6 minutes of that match was fantastic.
Yeah, I would love to see a 20-minute fight between those two. And it was of Jungle Boy and Ray Phoenix. And I thought myself, Jungle Boy matched Ray Phoenix, and that shows how good a worker that lad is. Because only he's 22, 23 or something, isn't he?
Like that, but even just like the last few teams was just like, it was just great. Like, there was so many, like, there's a good few teams there at the end where, like, I wouldn't be upset if anybody won this.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have been. It was well done. It was a really good fight. And how do you feel then? Obviously, because there's nothing to hide. Ray Phoenix won it for him and Pac to go against the Young Bucks next, and obviously that's going to be possibly a pay-per-view fight. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, straight away?
Like, they probably won't drag it out to the pay-per-view, but it'll definitely be pay-per-view quality. Like,
yeah, because Ray Phoenix has had such a big push recently, and Pac's looking really solid as well as always. So that'll be a cracking fight. That will be, and that's not going to be like a 10-minute fight on a TV program. No. It'll be half an hour, 40 minutes. It has to be straight away. So
that is something to bring in the viewers. That's definitely a big one.
Yeah, I think it will be certain as well. Okay, we better get onto the markings of this one then. What are you going to give this out of 5, Paul?
I give this a solid, I think, 4 out of 5. Even 4.25. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like, there was a couple of small dips, but overall there was a lot of great teams, a lot of great storylines being pushed. Poor old JR was doing his best, losing his voice in the middle.
I felt sorry for him there with that. I really felt sorry for the poor guy. He made you wonder, really, if his voice had gone. Couldn't they got somebody else into the last minute to cover for him?
You think, but I know, all I think about JR is, like, I know he loves the job and people enjoy doing it. There was one funny moment in the match where I remember, I can't remember who the teams even were, but someone did this wonderful move they did like a pile driver on another wrestler.
Oh, I saw that. Yes, I did see that as well, yeah.
But the best thing was it happened, and then 10 minutes later, someone else did it. One of the commentators said, "Oh, I've never seen that before in wrestling."
I forgot about that. Oh, fantastic.
4.25, really, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun match.
Same for me. I'm going to give it, or Drezea give it 4.5. I'm going to copy him, actually, because I give this 4.5 as well. I thought it was an exceptionally good fight, and it's really well worth your time watching that fight, as far as that, in my opinion. Really, really enjoyed it. Really good fight. Okay, now, my Japanese is rubbish here, so I'm going to have to ask you for your help with these now, Paul. I know Shida Now, what is it? What's the other lady called then that she fought in the women's AEW women's title fight?
Mizunami, I believe.
It sounds about that. As a Mizzy, I would have got half right. Yeah. So now she was really interesting
for any mispronunciations.
Yeah, she fought. She did fought a couple of really good fights in Japan. She did. Did you see the fight she had against Nyla Rose in the semi-finals?
I'm very ashamed to say I did not.
Worth watching again. It was, and I felt that they put a lot of time and effort into her in that fight. They did, and they're building her up as an underdog really. And it's interesting really because she's not that much smaller than actual Nyla Rose. So when I thought they were trying to say like she's struggling against Nyla Rose because Nyla Rose is so powerful and dominant, there's not much difference in size, and she's very charismatic. Oh God, she's really charismatic. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think she'd really she's very. I think she might be even older than Okada, but she just looks like Okada when she has her pre-ring gear on.
Oh God, yeah, she does, doesn't she? Yeah.
Charisma, that kind of being the place, and yeah, she's a lot of energy, a lot of kind of playing the crowd in the middle of the match and different things.
Yeah, but she was doing it straight at the beginning of the match, and I thought myself at one point, I don't know whether she should have done that. I thought that was a bit dicky on, but I could have seen this match going either way. Actually, I really could have done. Out of all the title belts, this is the one I thought. We're not giving any spoilers away. I thought could have gone either way straight away. I could have seen a win in that one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people enjoyed the match quite a lot, and I think it was a good wrestling match. For me, and I think some of this is probably my own fault for not getting to see much of the tournament matches, but AEW is kind of booking off, not really having any long-term storylines, the women's division, or having enough long-term, for as good as Mizunami looked, and for I assume she is, I couldn't really care. I couldn't find myself caring. And I know they tried last minute with the big video package beforehand to kind of make that story, and the announcers worked their ass off and the wrestlers worked their ass off, but it just didn't work for me because I just didn't have enough investment in the wrestler, to be honest, in the challenger.
Yeah, that was a big problem they've got, and I think that would have impacted on the mark I'm going to give this really, and it's a mistake they made because I felt if they built that up properly, it could have been a 5 out of 5. Really build up the anticipation to it, and I think it was a good fight, just a good fight if that makes sense, rather than a great fight for that reason. Now, we'll mark this and then we'll talk about the interference afterwards anyway. So, what are you going to give this one out of 5, Paul?
Despite the best of efforts, I couldn't get over that, and it was 3.5 for me. I just couldn't get invested.
I give it a 4. I enjoyed it, not as much as the first 2 fights. It was a good fight, but it was a little bit of a dip off. Did you know what our friend give it? Have you seen what marks he's given it? I'll let you say it. You've got it at hand.
Well, I think you really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? I'll let you. Do you want to tell people what you marked it for?
So, Dre Zira gave this match 5 stars.
I wonder sometimes when he does these marks just to wind us up sometimes.
I think when he listens to this podcast, which I assume he will, he's going to be very angry at me.
Yeah. I think he probably will be, to be honest with you. It just shows you really, obviously, when you watch these sort of things, you give it a 3, I give it a 4, and he's give it a 5. So we all give it complete different opinions on it. And if he'd been here today, I'd have loved to have known what he thought about this in person.
It was a great there was a lot of really fun in-ring action. It didn't do it for me, but I can see other people liking it a lot.
Yeah, it's the way it goes sometimes. Right, okay. Next bit we better talk about the post-match thing first of all. When Nyla Rose came out and attacked Shida from behind, Vicky Guerrero joined her and gloated. Then Rose turned over to Mrs. Umi. Shida made the save. Then you had Baker came out. Uta and Rebuild came out. And obviously then Thunder Rosa came out for the save. So that's basically turned into some sort of 6-person tag team war, didn't it really?
Mm-hmm. And I really hope this leads to some good storylines because that's the incredible group of wrestlers right there.
Yeah.
Those matches can be fantastic. Thunder Rosa is phenomenal. Cheetah's phenomenal. I love Nyla Rose. Like, there's loads of talent there. I just hope they do something properly with them and build on
Yeah.
this.
Not just a throwaway match over 5 minutes or something coming up in a couple of weeks' time. You listen, AEW, you can make that into a really good fight. You could. If we did it right, you could finish off a TV show in a couple of weeks' time with that for a good half an hour.
Oh, yeah.
You've got the talent for it, so we'll see. So, okay. Next one is Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy versus Miro and Kip Sabian. This got 8 minutes.
So this was kind of Miro's coming out party, I think.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy this fight at all, truth be told, people. I'm going to be honest.
I enjoyed it, but I think I enjoyed it as an angle. Like, it wasn't really a match.
Yeah. I think they could have dropped this easily from the pay-per-view, truth be told you. I'm not convinced it needed to be in there.
Oh, this was the least interesting thing on the show.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Easily, like, if you had to cut a match, this would be the match you'd cut.
Yeah, that's for sure of it. There's one bit I liked in this, and it was one nice improv bit when Orange Cassidy had his hands in his pockets and started tapping Miro's legs with his feet. And you saw the big smile on Miro's face, and he thought he was obviously getting the gag. Then he flattened him before he expected that. But there was nothing else, really. I didn't think it was very good at all.
I think it was a nice way of, maybe transitioning Miro into something bigger. Like, maybe breaking him away from Kip Sabian and just kind of, showing that much more aggressive side of him. Like, I think Miro looked good in this, but I don't think anyone else did.
Oh, God, yeah.
There was an issue to have Orange Cassidy in the match.
Yeah, I feel sorry because I think Orange Cassidy should be more higher up on it than he is, really. It does seem like they've not dropped him back a bit, a stage 2 after that career building moment against Jericho. And that's a big problem they've got with what they're going to do with him next, really, and that's a real problem area. But it's feel like a bit, to me, after the last match, it seemed like a massive anticlimax, really, to me. The whole thing did, really.
Yeah, no, it's like they're doing a weird thing where they, like, again, I think it's the same issue with the tag. Well, no, they're doing it better in the tag team division, but they just have so many big names and so much talent to try and, you can only highlight, I suppose, so many at a time. And Orange Cassidy, I think, is getting kind of lost in the flow a little bit. And Miro had been lost in the flow since he arrived, pretty much. So I think this was their chance. They're trying to push Miro now, but that seemed to come at the cost of Orange Cassidy a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Perhaps there is other AEW Dark program starting up. Perhaps they'll be able to use, I don't know, Orange Cassidy a bit more, possibly Miro as well, to build them up a bit, make them hot again. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? So
I think the new Dark show is for their, like, the rookies, kind of, I think, is it?
I've not heard them. It seems to be, I'm not quite sure what they're doing, because it looks like if you watch AEW Dark, it's mostly squash matches. Whether the new one's going to be used to build up, build up more rookies and stuff, let them work together. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea. Either way, so we'll see. All should be revealed, as I would say. So.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so moving on then, we are on to Matt Hardy versus Hangman Adam Page in the money match. This went on for 15 minutes again.
Do you want to give your rating for Miro?
Oh, sorry, yes. I forgot. You're glad you had reminded me. I always forget stuff like that. Yeah, we'll do Uma's first this time.
3.5.
3.5. I'm going to give this 2.5.
And kind of between 2.5 and 3. If it was a little bit shorter, I think putting Miro over, I found it fine as a segment, more than a match. But yeah, like 2.5, 3, you could have cut it off the show, really, and nobody would have, that would have been probably better on Dynamite than pay-per-view.
Yeah, no, I think so as well, to be honest with that. So I felt the same as you in that one. So, right, okay. We'll move on now then to Matt Hardy versus Hangman Adam Page from the money match. I felt the idea behind this on paper was a good idea, because I think as workers, I think they balance each other out well. I think Matt Hardy is doing well with his actual heel character. I didn't like the stipulation a great deal, to be told you this. I thought it was a bit bobbins.
I know, like, big money matches his character, but, like, having wrestling matches where stipulation is the winner gets money, nobody ever cares.
Exactly. And I had a bit of an issue with this, the build-up again. because I don't think it really pushed it further enough. It didn't. The stakes didn't seem high enough for me. So,
like, to what there's money is no stakes pretty much in wrestling. Like, there's only so much to spend your disbelief you can do, or there's only so much you can do to care. But again, I think a lot of this feels like their way of kind of keeping Adam Page, semi-hot before they give him his next big push.
Yeah, felt like straight away to me. I think Hangman Page is going to get a better go at Kenny Omega coming up fairly soon, I reckon. I don't think he's going to be his next challenger. He'll be the one after, in my opinion, on that, possibly later in the year.
Yeah, and I could see him dragging it out a bit. I could see it happen maybe the end of the year, or maybe even the start of next year. But it is going to happen. I feel like that's where he's going, but they have to fill up a lot of time before then.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good champion, to be honest, over time. Because if you look at the way he was with the crowd, with obviously before we had lockdown last year, the crowd loved him.
Oh yeah, no, I think it'll be, when it happens, it'll be great. But Kenny needs his time to do his whole stick at the moment, so they need to do something else with Adam, keep him going, keep him busy.
Yeah, keep him out of the way. And I think Matt, it's a good stop for you to me. Whether that's the end of that now, I don't know. Because Matt Hardy looks like he's got something against the Dark Order still, doesn't he? So, and if he's still got issues with the Dark Order, it could go. It could have dragged out for a bit more this year.
Adam Page doing the clothesline with the assist from the Dark Order seems to be his new finisher.
Yeah. I noticed that myself. So it's
kind of fun, but it's kind of I think you can only do this so many times.
Yeah, I know what you mean with that. So I've not got a lot to say about this fight. To be honest with you, Paul, on this one, I enjoyed it again. But
yeah, I think it was a fun, solid match. I think again, Adam Page is fantastic. I think Matt has something to prove a little bit, that he can kind of still hold his own, and he can.
Yeah. I think at the moment, Matt Hardy at the moment, he looks like he's in a late career recessions at the moment. He's looking really sharp for AEW. He's not botching moves or anything. He's looking really good.
But still, again, I think almost in a similar vein to the women's title match, there wasn't really enough to bite into storyline wise for me to care enough about this one.
Yeah, I felt it was like the middle of the podcast, middle of the pay-per-view sort of thing now, where you things might drop a little bit in those three fights. All of the two of them at the moments, but I felt it was more like a drop before you go to start picking up again, wasn't it? In the last three fights, really. So right, let's see what Uma's given this match. He give this one
4 stars, I think.
Is it? I can't even see where it is actually.
Yeah, I think 4.
Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah, he's credited as Hangman Hardy. That's what threw me for a second. But yeah, he's given 4 stars. All right. What are you going to give this one, Paul?
3.5, kind of.
It's same for me, mate. I'll give it 3.5. I didn't hate it, but I just felt myself it was maybe a couple of minutes too long.
Yeah, there was no bad, but just wasn't enough good, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just a good fight rather than a great one again. So yeah, I agree with that. Okay, on to Face of the Revolution. Now, I found this quite curious, this actually, Paul, because you obviously didn't see it from the week before, when Platinum and Max Caster went against number 10 and beat him with interference. But in that there, and obviously the week before, they didn't mention his partner in the Acclaim at all. And I found out afterwards, we were going researching online, he's out injured with, I think, an ankle injury or something. He's going to be out for quite some time. So we just bumped him straight in there. And when that happened, I thought there's 2 tag team specialists there. Who's going to get the push? It was another one that bit, though.
So
I enjoyed it.
From your experience as an accomplished spoken word poet performer,
I don't know about that.
Worker in the area, how do you find the Acclaim's rapping skills?
It's a parody, basically, isn't it? So it's a bit. He's better than John Cena was when John Cena first started off, and he got awful. Right. I don't think he's great, to be honest, but he's entertaining, but not great. That makes sense to you, does it?
Yeah. So as Gary said, that's part of it. Just it's a good heel gimmick.
Yeah, it's a good making heel, isn't it? So certainly that one. So, but it was interesting. One thing I did notice was there's mixed feelings at the moment whether they're turning Lance Archer heel again. I was beginning to wonder whether they were, because he's been for a while now more neutral, hasn't he? And I loved the bit when Jake Roberts came in and got involved in it briefly. I thought he looked really good for a second, but then looked completely out of breath afterwards, didn't
he? He was just standing at this like side of the ring afterwards, looking like out of it for a while. Like,
yeah.
Jake Roberts. You kind of just got to love Jake Roberts.
Oh no, yeah, I like him still. He's still grateful. But I felt, did you feel underwhelmed when they brought out the mystery entrant? Ethan Page or Ethan Page, who you call him?
This might be more unfortunate on my side because I haven't watched Impact an awful lot in the last many number of years. So I didn't get to see a lot of the North. I'd heard fantastic things about the North, but I'll be honest, I didn't realize who Ethan Page even was for the first minute or so afterwards he came out. I think I had an idea, but I didn't let to make sure.
Well, if I'm honest, I went on my mobile straight away and I thought, no, I don't know who he is. I didn't know. So I had checked up when I saw the North. Oh, yeah, I've seen them now. So I knew they were then, yeah.
I suppose this is the danger sometimes with, I know AEW loves its surprise entrance. But occasionally, maybe it's better to actually introduce someone if they're not as well known than have it as the big surprise.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that hindered him a bit there because I don't think you were looking at as it went along, and I thought to myself, everybody else looked like they had a fair chance of winning it, but you would struggle to buy him coming in and getting straight go with the belt. I couldn't see it. That's criticism of it, but again, he'll pick up. See, he didn't have a bad showing. I thought everybody had the chances there. Everyone had good moments in it straight away. So,
and I think Scorpio Sky was a great option.
Yeah, there's talk going around the turning game heel. Have you heard this one?
Yeah, but he's kind of a bit of a tweener anyway, aren't they? With SCU a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking that myself. So I can't see him. I can't see him beating Darby Allin, if I'm honest.
You see, this thing, I think he's the perfect person that this will give him the push with the win, with the big, match on Dynamite, but also, he's probably not going to win, and that's probably okay.
Yeah, I think so. They'll use it as a stepping stone for him to keep building him up because it's not been revealed, but there's talk around he's been carrying an injury for quite some time. Well, also, I think they're obviously using this podcast he does, doesn't he? Because he has a podcast going on, a video podcast, doesn't he? Weekly in AEW, which I don't watch, honestly. So,
yeah, I'm just thinking, like with the match, it had this weird thing where, in one sense, anyone could win it, but like storyline wise, like Cody should be put away from the title for a while. I think. I don't think Darby should lose the title, but I think if Lance Archer or maybe even Penta won, I don't think they, should take a loss either. So I think Scorpio Sky just made the most sense. Like,
yeah,
was the best option really.
Yeah, I do. I couldn't see Max Caster winning it. It's too soon for him. It's too soon for him. They're building him up. Your Ethan Page show, and I don't know whether it's true or not that Cody was injured during that fight, or they just staged it somewhat.
It's so hard to tell because this happens so much in ladder matches.
Oh, I know. You just don't know, do you? So you don't know. Very hard to judge, honestly. Like I said,
that is a thing as well where I felt like this match, well, again, there was nothing bad in it. I think we've seen so many ladder matches over the years. I think it's hard for people to stand out anymore.
Yeah, I was surprised they did this fight actually in this pay-per-view. You obviously had a big spot. You have two big spot fests already, really, hadn't you? Obviously, with the tag team one, they've seen a back road to start with. Then obviously the Bucks versus Jericho and MJF. So this is arguing a big spot fest one really won. It was one too many. I don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it was that again, maybe just the card being one or two matches too full.
Yeah.
And it was. I found it a little bit underwhelming. And again,
I enjoyed it, but I think it got to the stage by the end of it. I think 23 minutes is too long because my attention was starting to go. Definitely on that fight, it was.
Like, again, there wasn't a lot in it I didn't like. It was just, I think there was so much in it I think I just seen too many times before.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. I think they could have got away with 15 minutes in it, and that one probably made it a bit sharper then. But again, it's giving over the spots in it, basically, so it's very difficult to do that one. Right, okay. What did our friend give it? Our friend gave it 4 out of 5. I'm going for 4 as well. I did enjoy it. I felt it was a step up from the last fights, certainly. So
Yeah, I think I'm on the 3.5. I'm a very cynical old bastard.
you're cynical young bastard, you mean? Because I'm the old bastard, right? Right, okay. Right. I want to ask you next about Christian Page, because obviously he was then revealed, wasn't he, as their big mystery signing. And we've talked a bit off mic in this, but how do you feel about Christian Page coming to the AEW?
I think, like, there's always the problem with, I think, with wrestling fans, not wrestling, where when you hype a big Hall of Fame name, people, minds just go to unrealistic places. And I think almost the way it was built up, like when it came out, and because it had kind of, I think the internet had kind of caught on that it was an option as well. Like I almost felt like a little bit disappointed, even though I think it's a great signing. I think Christian will be a great signing and will be a lot of fun. And it's a great name and a great mind to have with the company.
Yeah, same.
I think just as a wrestling fan, and this is like my own fault, I think you always just go to, oh, they're going to hire The Rock, they're going to hire Stone Cold Steve Austin, which of course they're not, but or CM Punk or something. But like you just when you're given that opportunity, you kind of just dream too big.
Yeah, but you got to look at a lot of it. I think it's why Christian Cage a good signing now is we're not got anywhere near a full house. I was looking last night for obviously the post-show promo we'll talk about in a minute for Revolution, and I found the one that Moxley did last year, and you think only that was just for lockdown. I thought the crowd were electric on it. And I thought to myself, if you get that sort of crowd coming in again, and I mean, we will, then I think they'll go for the massive signing, because there's been definite talk around that Batista was in contract talks with him. I heard that one for sure. I know we were talking to him. And I believe that they still are in talks of Punk as well, to be honest. Punk's interested.
Like I think it does make sense. Like it makes sense to leave the big pops for like you need it kind of more.
Yeah, I think I would regard Christian Cage as an upper to mid card signing and a good one. I didn't see him in the Royal Rumble. To be honest with you, WWE. So I don't really watch WWE nowadays. But I heard a lot of good stuff said. He said he looked really sharp.
He looked really fluid. It's almost sad, I suppose, that Edge and Christian aren't on the same brand or in the same company because they could have had a bit of fun together. But no, like I think I say he'll be very good. Like he did retire a few years ago, but he retired with less injuries than Edge had, and Edge is looking fantastic. So I say Christian will be able to pull it out the bag as well.
Yeah, I do as well. I think he'll do a good job. And it is the question. I've got a couple of quick questions on this for you before we go on to the street fight on this. Is can you see them doing something like they did with Matt Hardy with him, or having him going in a mid card feud before having to go to Kenny Omega?
Yeah, like I'll be honest, I don't think much of Christian's role is going to be at world title level.
No.
It's going to be more, maybe working with some younger talent or working with some kind of mid-card talent and doing a lot of really fun stuff with them.
Yeah, I do as well. I know he's been quoted saying he wanted to come in to work with some of the younger talent. I've seen that quote already. And I think it'll be a good signing for him. It'll be a good, solid signing. I don't think it's going to be a great signing, but it'll boost him a bit, I think.
Like I think he's like 47 as well.
Yeah, he is. So I think he's 2 months up there. Him and Edge are around about the same age. He's slightly older. So it's just a signing for a year or two, basically, isn't it? So they're using him very infrequently, I reckon, for fighting.
I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think he'll do a lot of good work. But yeah, I think when you have that big signing announcement, you just always kind of work yourself up too much.
Yeah, no, you do that one definitely. And we'll see. Let's see what they do. Because I was a bit surprised he didn't let him do his mission statement actually on Sunday night, but he's talking this Wednesday, so that's when we're doing it then, which is I think it's a good move anyway. So okay, then we're going to go on to Sting and Darby Allin versus in the street fight. This was 14 minutes, this one. So I liked this one where it was pre-shot in black and white on an actual street to start with, and it gave that very sort of dark noir feel, didn't it?
It was so funny just having this, like, with Taz as commentator.
Yeah. Oh, that was a bit bobbins, that
So
was.
silly.
Particularly when you read up, it was well known they shot it, didn't they, last week?
But even like at the beginning where they were like, Sting in his truck with Darby Allin on the skateboard at the back, and Taz just being like, "Stop making my guys wait, just get in and start the bloody match."
Yeah, I did enjoy it. I thought that was funny. That was funny. It's kind of I think they might have oversold that a little bit then, but no, I thought it was really funny. A couple of things I really liked on this. I liked at the beginning of it when you had all of Darby Allin's sort of minions, didn't they? Really, his hooligans all banging on the side of the ring, and I thought that was a nice bit.
I thought it's a really fun, solid match, and even I did really nice little spots at the beginning where, like, was it Ricky Starks tried to like throw Darby Allin out of the ring and kind of push him forward, and like Darby Allin literally just like pounced off the wall and back in, which looked really cool, and just like Darby Allin like really looked like he was in his element.
Yeah, did you hear about apparently Darby Allin produced most of this?
I did not, but that makes sense.
I believe he produced about 80% of it, apparently. He was given almost total creative freedom. And apparently he outlined it all to Tony Khan. And Tony Khan said, apparently reputedly, told him to go with the lot.
Like, I've seen people online say it, and I think it's kind of true. I don't think it was as good as like the Boneyard match from last year's Mania, but I think it had that kind of soul in it.
Yeah, I do. I think it was quite. I think they went a different way with it when the Fat Falls. I loved the fact where we set up in the warehouse. It was blatantly obvious, a warehouse, in a very dark and moody warehouse.
But like sometimes I think with these like cinematic matches, they can kind of get a little bit too. Like sometimes it works, but it can get a bit too weird. Where I think this kept like the fighting, like the actual, wrestling element of it. It balanced it out.
No, I agree. I felt this was a better one than the Hardy compound fight was.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Hardy compound fight, but I think this was probably tighter. I think this was better.
Yeah, doing it all the black and whites and the grey scales in it, I felt it added a mood to it really, and it let them do a few things a bit different from what I saw the Hardy compound, which was all right. But yeah, I thought this was a better fight straight away.
The fireworks at the Hardy compound was the best thing ever.
Well, we'll come on to fireworks in a few minutes more, won't we? That's what I'm going to say there. How did you think Sting looked in this fight?
I think he was look. This might sound insulting, but I think he was very well protected.
Yes, I did.
You couldn't see any flaws or any issues really.
Yeah, same for me. And I felt that straight away with this. I've not read how long it took to film this, because I know when they did the Junkyard Factory, obviously with Undertaker last fight against AJ Styles, that was done over about a day. That was, I heard. This, I reckon, I didn't see a lot, because obviously I'm an ex-film studies student. The cutting in it seemed quite sharp in this in places, so they spent some time working on this. And they did, and it was probably, I thought it was a well put together show, actually.
Yeah, no, I think, and it was nice it wasn't too long either, I think, because I think there's, like with cinematic matches, it's nice when it's kind of good and tight, especially this kind of match, I think.
Yeah, they did a good job with this.
The right time, the right content, the right look. It did what it wanted to do perfectly.
Yeah, I agree. Now, a couple of things we come on to the final thing. What did you reckon to Darby Allin leaping off a balcony and dropping several floors onto a platform set up, landing on Cage with a flying elbow drop?
Yep, I was happy with that. I was like, cool. It's Darby Allin. Like, feck it. Why not?
Yeah, I had a feeling straight away. I thought that spoke those two out of this fight. They're not getting back up again after that. Oh God, I felt a bit of a, and I thought then Sting against Ricky Starks, and I think Ricky Starks is a really good worker, because he's charismatic, but he does seem to, all the work he's done with Sting in this, he's been protecting Sting all along. He has really well, I think, and elevating him. So I thought, I thought it was a well matched what match did the two teams stripped over you?
Yeah, I think it just like it was just really solid kind of like just cinematic match.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Member did their job well.
Yeah, I do. Uma give this one 4 out of 5. I've got to go and double check mine what I give this now. But what do you give us out of 5, Paul?
Yeah, I think I'd be the same. I think just a solid 4 match.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 me as well. It was probably one of my favourite matches of the night. This stripped over it was, and I felt it. You could tell that was a match coming up just before the May pay-per-view stripped over it, and it felt it as well. So it was a good fight. Really, really enjoyed it. Okay, now we're on to the controversial fight now of the night. Wow. Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley in the exploding barbed wire death match of the AEW's heavyweight title. This was, do you reckon this is pretty mental, this fight, wasn't it?
Like, I think I'm self-professed. Like, I don't think I dislike anything Kenny Omega does. The person to actually judge. But like, the match itself I thought was great. I thought like the psychology around it, like the fact that nobody touched barbed wire for the first 5 or 6 minutes. That was great. And it was like, it's brutal. Like, barbed wire is terrible.
Yeah. Oh wait, look! I saw it. The bit when you saw Moxley go over the top, didn't you? And land on the barbed wire. I thought, oh, making me squirm. That was.
Like, I remember, like, my dad owns a hardware shop, and we used to sell barbed wire, and it's just the most terrible thing. Like, you don't want to go near it. Like, you have like have gloves on, just like pick it up, and it's not something that's supposed to touch people's skin.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, that's for sure. It was brutal, basically. I've seen the fight that they were going to bring in one of the guys that co-created this originally in Japan, weren't they? And I can't remember his name now. But I saw the part of the fight he fought in, and anyone's interested, go and check it out because they made this fight look like an amateur basis. Because this was a rough fight, no two worries about the roughest fights I've seen. But that one was even worse. Oh, that was just sheer animals. That was in Japan. I think in New Japan.
I think like again, from my own perspective, I think like there's definitely, I guess you see stuff in like, what is it, CZW, which is just ridiculous, like combat zone wrestling, or or FMW in Japan, the Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, it's called. And like, there's definitely been more brutal, but I think this did a good job of matching the brutal with the psychology.
Yeah, did. And I could see. You think really, because obviously Moxley's a brawler, really, isn't he? And Kenny's more the psychological, more thinking man's wrestler, really. But I think he had the match, and we're going to keep off the ending. We'll come on to that in a minute. But I felt myself, certainly, there was a good combination there between the pair of them. And I felt it, the 25 minutes or so, we got near the end, when the Good Brothers came out, which I didn't think was needed, as I'm honest. But I felt it was an expletive pace fight that was really brutal, but really good fight.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, it's hard because I think Kenny Omega is such a good wrestler, such a good wrestler, especially his role in AEW. It's kind of hard to hate him. I think you need to have these like good brother spots and stuff like that to make him a proper heel. But it does kind of take away from it at the same time. And it's not, I just want to see the one-on-one match, but like, I understand why they do it at the same time.
Yeah, I did as well. I don't, whether it was that who needed this sort of blow-off fight, I don't know. But
yeah,
it's really, really, really difficult one to judge like that. But again, thankfully, they didn't come in after 5 minutes. WWE would have people coming in straight away. I know the way they work. They let them have this most incredibly brutal, bloody fight it was, and it was bloody. There was just so many spots in it, like and it got me with they were going against the ring, and the fireworks went off, and you could see them both jumping at least once, and it made them jump. And I like the fact the referee had all the protection gear on. I thought
that mix of kind of stupid looking, but also great, and also did like it was probably necessary. Very necessary, yes.
Oh, it's brilliant. That's why. So, right, check my notes. I don't think I've got anything else I need to cover in this fight. So, no, we had it, obviously, people noticed, obviously, the Good Brothers came out to help out Omega beat Moxley at the end, and he gave Moxley a one-winged angel through a chair for the 3 count. So, and then I don't spot this, but Kai's came out apparently, said he came into this as the god of pure wrestling, and now Omega can be called the god of the death match. It really was a death match.
Actually, speaking of the one-winged angel, there was a really lovely spot near the end where Omega hit the one-winged angel, and like Moxley's foot like hit off the rope.
Oh, I saw, yeah. That was really clever.
That was really nice.
That was really clever. That was, yeah. Whether that was meant to be because the explosion ring happened what it did, but no, it gives it a different feel. Now, I don't know how you want to mark this one, Paul, because we do need to talk about the ending of it, because that's
like I think I try and judge matches by bell to bell for the most part.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Umar has kind of graded it, taking the ending into account.
Which I think we have to as well, so I must admit with it. So,
like for me, if you don't count the ending, or the aftermath, and maybe even discount like the last minute or two, like I think the first 23, like up until the Good Brothers came in, like this was a 4.5-star match for me. This is like my favorite thing in the card. So
yeah, for me as well. I'm in the same boat. I think it's borderline a 5 to make Trooper told it was, but the ending of it, which I'll come on to in a minute. Uma give this 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5, then knocks a mark off for the end part of it. I'm going to go as far as giving it a 5 out of 5, but then I'm going to knock off a mark and a half at the end of it. So because of the same reason we'll talk about in a minute, it's mine 3.5 out of 5 as well.
It's so terrible. It's like they put themselves through so much, and for something completely out of their hand control, it's like
it was unfortunate, honestly. I don't know how it messed up, but obviously people are wondering. Obviously, like you had at the end of it when they count, it was completely over the top. When obviously they beat up Moxley more, handcuffed him down. Then obviously that is left him supposed to blow up, and I thought this is ridiculous. This is like Impact doing their murder story, which happened really recently. But then like Eddie Kingston came out, which surprised me. How did you feel about that? Eddie Kingston coming out to save him.
I thought it was really nice. I
liked it, but I was surprised because it's quite well talked. Last time those two fought, Moxley was fighting to get his friend back. And they've known each other, was it 20 odd years or something? Then I read someone. They've known each other a long, long time, haven't they?
Like, if the ending had gone to plan, I don't think I'd have any issues with it. Like, I think that if there was a spectacular explosion, and they were both knocked out in the middle of it, it would have been kind of stupid. But like, it would have been as stupid I could have got behind. Like, I'd have been like, this big sacrifice by Kingston to make this, rebuild the friendship and move on and have new dynamic. I think it would have worked out. It wouldn't have been everybody's cup of tea, but I think it would have worked out. Yeah,
that's same for me as well with it. So it's unfortunate, particularly when the commentaries team starts, they're going to die. And they didn't. And they only stopped halfway through. They realised the fireworks weren't going off properly.
I think, with the whole, as you said, Tony Khan or Moxley's interview at the end, I know it's so hard with live television and scripted, and you're hoping something might still happen, but if they had reacted that way immediately, I think it could have been saved.
Yeah.
Like if someone had told Kingston it didn't go off and he got back up, or if Omega and the Good Brothers immediately were put back out and just kind of laughed at them, and they, the commentary didn't sell it like everyone was dead.
Yeah, it was a bad cock up that. However, have you seen the promo that Moxley cut straight after it's been filmed? And he goes around saying that Omega knows jack shit about these sort of fights, and I thought to myself, I think he kind of saved it.
Yeah, I think that would have saved it, bar the fact that Eddie Kingston was unconscious after.
Oh no, yeah, it's still out.
The commentary were like, "Oh God, they're dead."
That's true. If Eddie Kingston, and obviously, fair enough, he'd been not stunned a little bit. He'd played out completely out, and I could believe everyone's seen this bit because it's well worth 2.5 minutes to watch. When Moxley was staggering around the ring, you can tell that he'd gone through hell in that fight. Oh, yeah. He pushed his body to the limit, and I thought it's a heck of an effort by both guys. It's just a shame, unfortunately, it didn't work out at the end of it. So,
you don't want to put your body through that, and for all anybody talks about the next day to be just like sparklers.
Yeah, sparklers didn't go off properly. It's unfortunate, one of those things. So, right, that's pretty well it, Paul, isn't it? So, all right, I know Uma's given this a grade. Let's have a look then. Yeah, an overall PPV grade and letters. So what are you going to give this?
Yeah, I think.
I'm gonna copy Uma here. I must admit.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of a B. I think there wasn't a lot about this show I didn't think worked, but there was a couple of problems, and it was just a lot of the card that was just good as opposed to great. And I think AEW have built up such a good reputation as well. It's hard when you're just good and not great. Like if this was a WWE pay-per-view, I think I'd be nicer to it almost.
Probably, yeah. No, well, Uma's giving it B plus. I'm going to follow him and give it B plus. I've been kind. I think it would have got an A starred on that if that last fight had been right. So I think it's one of those things where it's before. If it had done it right, it could have highlighted the full pay-per-view. And unfortunately, all everyone's remember now is they got up at the end of it, aren't they? So,
like the tag team Casino Battle Royal match, the start of that match and some parts in the middle were kind of slow, but because the last like 5 or 10 minutes was so great, you almost forget about it. You know, like when you finish strong, you can kind of make up for a lot.
Yeah.
And when you finish weak, unfortunately, you can drag you down a lot then as well.
Yeah, that's what's happened there. Unfortunately, they'll learn from it. To be honest with you. So
Yeah,
whether they do this sort of fight again is another ball game. To be honest, it's one of those things. Particularly read that Kenny Omega apparently was fuming behind the scenes, and I thought, it's no wonder somebody messed up on that. They did.
Yeah,
it's a big technical error. It happens, like I said. So anyway, guys and girls, well, that's it for today. So me and the doctor have done just over an hour. So we shall see you. The next pay-per-view is last Sunday in May, I believe. May. All Out, isn't it? So
we might even have to watch the Impact pay-per-view. See the unification match.
Well, yeah, that's this weekend, isn't it?
Well, when Kenny's match is
it's at the end of the month. End of the month. Yeah, I'll do that.
This week he's in.
Yeah, we'll have a chat to Uma about that. I'm up for that. You up for that one, Paul?
Yeah, I might have a look at that one.
Yeah, we'll talk about off mic. So watch your space, guys. If you get us doing an Impact one, you might be getting lots of me and Paul and possibly Uma saying, I don't know him. Don't know him. Don't know who he is. We'll see. So, right, guys, girls, we're going to sign off now. So stay safe, guys. See you later.